Whilst he had been saying this, Weaver had slowly swivelled on her stool, round to face Garland. At the same time, the children had settled themselves down in an arc at her feet. Weaver then indicated for him also to be seated, and Garland settled himself down on the floor next to the children. Well, I will tell you some tales about this time. I think we can skip the story whispers just this once and tell some tales about the time, Weaver said to her attentive audience, who seemed almost disappointed that story whispers were not going to be part of this tale. There came a time when the harvest was predicted to be poor, for the rains had been sparse and the sun had been hotter than normal. The soil was parched, and the only plants appearing to thrive was the soil moss, and as usual, Weaver was struggling to keep it at bay, even with the help that the others of the Forsaken had given him. The weather continued like this for many days, and then all at once Farmer announced that all of the harvests must be gathered in at once, no matter what their current state or who was doing what important jobs. Leader too agreed with Farmer, so all the crops were harvested, but some were nowhere near as plump and ripe as they should be. But due to the foresight of supply, there was still a store of food from last year's harvest. The Forsaken knew that the following year was going to be tough, but the food that they'd harvested was less than they had hoped for. Then, the next day, a purple line was drawn across the horizon. That line became thicker, and the whole air occasionally began to shake, and there were lights flashing in the distance. The leader then came among the people and told them to follow into the place of awakening, and the people scurried after the leader, seeking shelter, for a great storm was coming. Now all the people knew that what Farmer had seen coming. Farmer had read the winds and signs. For every 7 seasons or so, the storms do come, they bring great damage and destruction in their wake. Others had also prepared against such a thing. Leader had been ready to guide the Forsaken to the place of awakening. Supply had been ready, storing up food. So remember that even when the harvest is good, make sure you're prepared against the bad times. Then, when the Forsaken had gathered at the place of awakening, and some were concerned about what was going to happen next, Leader went round to everyone, even in the corners of the room, and reassured everyone that all would be well. The Forsaken could hear the storm as it passed overhead. The noise was faint, as if it came from a great distance away, but the roof of the place of awakening is strong and tough, and no mere storm can damage it. Eventually, after some days later, the Forsaken emerged into dim light after the storm had passed. Leader went first and surveyed the damage and directed people to clear and repair things. With everybody working together and focusing on their actions, the worst of the damage was soon cleared, and for days the streams ran full of water, gushing down the slope, taking all mud and dirt and washing the land clear. Then, with the soil all fresh and clear, Farmer began to plant those crops that still could be harvested before the cold weather would come. The farmer always has to make the best of conditions, but you now seem to forget what may have gone on before. When all the planting had been completed, and the first shoots started to appear out of the ground, and when all the repairs had been finished, the winds did change, and the people were relieved the storms would not come back. For this time the wind was strong, it was not fresh as it should be. Instead, the smell of death and decay was upon the air. All day and all night, the smell entered every corner of every dwelling, and could not be avoided.